Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. Brought to you by Blue Sky Business Consulting. We discuss 5 questions in about 15 minutes. Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast. I'm very excited every time I get to interview somebody new from all over the United States or around the world, and today is no exception. This is Greg Mohr, and he is the franchise Maven from Licking, Missouri. And Greg, I'm so excited to talk to you and to learn a little bit more about your perspectives, especially coming from the franchise world, about leadership and teams and some of those things. But before we get to the questions, tell us a little bit more. The franchise Maven, that's such a great name. Tell us a little bit more about some of the projects that you're working on and what you do.
Thank you, Shawn, for having me. I appreciate it. What I do is I turn people into entrepreneurs through the world of franchising. People come to me, they want to become an entrepreneur, they want to have a business, and they thought about franchising, but they just don't know where to start. Start with me. That's where I come in. Find out where have you been, where are you at, where do you want to be? We take it from there, and I do the match out.
Oh, that's great. And you have the matching, you do all sorts of screening and sorts of fun things to make sure that people are, shall we say, properly aware and prepared what it takes to run a franchise.
Shawn, you're absolutely correct. I make certain that they know what they're getting themselves into and that they are okay with it.
I like that. Well, very good. Well, thank you for taking time to be on the podcast. I really appreciate it. Let's go ahead and jump into the questions here. First question, Greg, how do leaders create a psychologically safe environment for their team and their workers?
Great communication, Shawn, is only the best way to do it. Sometimes they'll do things like if they want to be somewhat, they want the employees to be somewhat anonymous, and in case there's something negative and employees are worried about it, some scorecards or some comment cards are good. But to really have a positive environment, you really want to get people together, your employees together, and really show them where you're at, where you've been, where you're going, and how they are contributing and what they're doing to contribute it basically to the bottom line, because that's where everybody's at. This is how much we made. This is what we're looking to get. This is, why we pay you so much, because we make so much. If we make more, we can pay you more. But really openness, communication, and if necessary, those anonymous worried about, if you think the employees might be worried about some sort of repercussions.
Oh, fantastic. Appreciate that. All right. Question number 2. Now, I'm sure that there are lots of people that have had a very positive influence in your life. When you think of maybe one particular person, what is one word that you would use to describe that person that had a great influence on you?
Driven.
Mm, yeah. You care to talk a little bit more about, you don't have to give the
Okay.
person's name, but tell us a little bit about this individual that is driven, that inspired you.
Kathy, the one that I worked with over at Taco Bell back when I was 16, my first foray into franchising. She owned 50 Taco Bells throughout the Tuckney, California area. Very driven person, and she drove me to be a better person as well. She was, as we talking about the communication, she was very open with the communications and teaching me to do that with the employees that I work with, so I can help her build her teams throughout all the different Taco Bell restaurants in the Sacramento area that I worked with her. That
Wow.
loved her. She was great.
Fantastic. So from the tender age of 16, you learned to be driven from Kathy. I think that's fantastic. I love that. All right. Question number 3. How can leaders foster a growth mindset, either in themselves or their team members?
Always looking to learn and expand your knowledge. If you're going to grow, you need to learn new things. You can't get stagnant. You can't be comfortable looking at going outside your comfort zone, and getting other people in there to maybe take a look at what your operations and what you're doing on a regular basis, have somebody else's different view from it. A lot of the franchisers do that. You see a lot of the other businesses will do that with their uh, blind shoppers that come in there, but you want somebody else's perspective every once in a while on yours, because if you, the way you think, uh, may get caught up in just thinking straight ahead and not looking everywhere. But if you bring in somebody else that can view things from a different standpoint, I think that really helps expand your knowledge out a little bit. And they do that a lot. And you see some of those things like uh, when the manager, they had that show on TV where one of the CEOs or something, he comes in and he works as an employee every once in a while.
Yeah, yeah.
very good perspective. That way you get down in with the employees and find out what they're thinking and how they're feeling on that. I think that's a very good way, stepping out of your comfort zone, to really expand your knowledge, your business, and grow, from what you learn.
Oh, I like that. So the idea being that we allow for other perspectives to come in, be open-minded to it so that we can receive that input and be able to grow as a result of that. That's a great idea to have a different perspective, whether it's from the secret shoppers as they might be called, or just your employees, whatever it is, but to be open-minded to that. I love that. I love that. Okay. All right, so this is kind of a fairly, when I say a fairly new topic, as a younger man myself, I don't remember this phrase. I'm going to use the phrase emotional wellness. Didn't seem to come up too often, but in the business world nowadays, it's a lot more of a topic. How can leaders foster this environment of emotional well-being? And again, it could be for their team, but it could also be for themselves. How do leaders maintain emotional wellness?
Talking with their employees quite often, open communications, um, but the wellness area in itself in there is not maybe segmenting employees to say, "This is your job, this is your role, this is what you do," but going to them and from their emotional wellness and finding out what is it you're really trying to accomplish here. Are you just wanting a paycheck, or is there something beyond that that you're trying to accomplish with this role that you're working in right now? That's, that's what I did a lot with the employees that I worked with when I was over at Taco Bell, is they would come in and they were getting a job. I said, "You just here to make money? Or is there something more that you want out of life or out of this position that you're doing here?" And rather than just saying, "Here's the work you do. You're doing a great job. Thanks. Here's your paycheck. If you sell 3 more tacos or per person per day, I'm gonna give you a little bonus." There's more to life than that. There's a reason that they're there. Some of them are just for extra money. It's just like some of them were housewives of construction workers. "Well, I just need a little extra money." But other people were like, "I'm trying to uh, move up in the world. I was thinking about someday being a manager of a restaurant." I was like, "Oh, you never mentioned that before. Well, let me see what I can do to help you build that." And then from an owner's emotional intelligence and well-being, uh, you really got to find things that you do outside of work that are helpful and that are relaxing. So I know when I'm doing my work here, every so often, even though I'm talking with a lot of people, I have to step outside and go for a walk. So it kind of relaxes you.
Mhm.
Uh, it
Yeah.
makes you, it gets you think about things a little bit differently, so that you're not just caught up strictly with constantly, how can I help this person do this? How can I help this person? Every once in a while, you need to step back and say, how can I help myself? And just taking a walk, clearing your mind is, is a great way for me as an owner to be more emotionally sound and stable.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. So taking some breaks, communicating, obviously. But I really like what you said, though, Greg, about connecting with your people and making sure that you understand kind of the direction that they want to go and how you can support that. And yeah, you're right. A lot of times, especially in a fast food type industry, it might be just simply a little extra money. But I'm sure that you've got some stories, all those years of running all those Taco Bell franchises there. You'll find people that suddenly have you might call it a little awakening where they realize, you know what, maybe I do want to get into this. I hadn't thought of it before, but I'm kind of digging this. This is kind of fun. Did you run into that occasionally, folks that found themselves interested in restaurant business?
Quite often, Sean, it was amazing pretty much when you actually started asking them what they're trying to get out of life and what they're doing, and especially what are you doing outside of your of this job. And like, well, I'm going to school for restaurant management. It's like,
Uh-huh.
tell me that. Now, so let me see. Let's start putting you in charge. Let's make you a shift leader. Let's start working on your development for working with others, or they just wanted to be a business owner or something like that. I got all sorts of different people that wanted to do different things. So I just tried my best to find a way to develop them within the job that they were doing now, develop their skills so they could be so they could achieve their goals and their dreams.
Yeah, that's great. When people are pursuing something that they're excited about and that they're passionate about, that emotional well-being just naturally goes up. I just love that. I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning, but for the benefit of the audience, you are not just a franchise consultant currently. You are also a Taco Bell, multiple franchises. So you know what you're talking about when it comes to leadership as well as franchising. I probably should have recognized and if the audience didn't pick up on it. 16 years old, you started working at Taco Bell, and it led all the way to kind of where you're at here, to some way, shape, or form. I know you had a couple of little detours there, but great story. I love your story. So it's a fun one to read about. So we'll get to that in just a second. But let's go ahead and wrap up, finish up with the fifth and final question. Tell us about your first job, if it was Taco Bell or if it wasn't. Either way, whatever you'd like to share.
Well, the first official job, Shawn, was Taco Bell when I was 16. Before that, I was always an entrepreneur. Before that, I actually had a paper route
Oh, there you go.
on that. So that was my
To me,
yeah, we did. You really? Hey, there you go. There's something we do, and we're both kind of at that age where back when we were doing the paper routes, had to be very responsible people because in my little town, I had to go knock on doors collecting for the Democrat. I don't know if you did the same thing, but
same thing.
you, yeah, we had to go, and you couldn't imagine kids going out in the evenings knocking on doors, collecting money door to door from people, but that's what we did. That's what I did, and
Yep.
you had to make certain that they deliver the paper to you. You had to get them out of there. That was like at 14 on there. So rain or shine, it didn't matter. If it was rain, you'd wrap them up in plastic, make sure
Right.
they were wet, and got on your bike and you got out there and did that, and then collect the money, turn some of the money over to the Democrat, keep the rest for yourself, get some tips. So it was interesting, a lot of fun.
I have very happy memories about my paper route that I had up in Oregon, is where I was delivering. And it was the same exact thing. In fact, if I remember correctly from your story, it was an afternoon paper for you, correct?
It was.
Yeah, same for me, which you don't ever hear about. They're all early morning. And for me, this was an afternoon paper. So I came home from school, delivered them. Like you say, rain or shine or snow or whatever it was, you had to get it out. And then you'd go back and knock on the doors, and I loved that part of it because I got to meet all the customers, so there was an opportunity to just say hi to them, and it was a great experience, so that's great. All right, first job, so there we go. It's a great experience from the first job in my view of anyone who, well, I shouldn't say it was a great experience. For Greg, you and me, it sounds like it was a great experience. I know that there are some guests that I've had that their first job was not a great experience. It kind of taught them what not to do in life. Okay, this is not what I want to do. But anyway, well, Greg, thank you so much for taking time to be on the podcast. Tell us, how can people get a hold of you?
Go to my website, franchisemaven.com. That's franchise, MAV as in Victor, EN.com. Email me at greg@franchisemaven.com, or do it the old-fashioned way. Just pick up the phone and give me a call. 361-772-6401.
Fantastic. And we'll make sure we put all of those in the show notes as well. So thanks so much, Greg. And thanks to all of you for joining us on the podcast. As always, we look forward to seeing you every week where we talk about leadership in teams. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much. Have a great day. This is Shawn Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. Be sure to follow or subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. And for more leadership tips, pick up your copy of Rapid Fire Leadership by going to rapidfireleadership.com, where you can also download free resources to help you in your leadership role. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great day.